Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 2nd meeting of the Ann Arbor City Council. If you're able, please rise and join us for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would our clerk please call the roll of council?
Councilmember Dish?
Here.
Councilmember Harrison?
Here.
Councilmember Song?
Here.
Councilmember Watson?
Here.
Councilmember Medina?
Here.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Here.
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Councilmember Iyer?
Here.
Councilmember Ackman?
Here.
Councilmember Briggs?
Here.
Councilmember Cornell?
Here.
We have a quorum.
May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda? Moved by Councilmember Iyer, second by Councilmember Cornell. Discussion of the agenda. All in favor? Opposed? The agenda is approved. Do we have communications today from our city administrator?
We have no communications from the city administrator.
Understood. Chair Carter? Excellent. Welcome. We have the pleasure of hearing a communication from our chair of the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission. Chair Carter, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, Madam Clerk. It's good to be here. I wanted to first give a report. We did have, ICPOC had our public forum last week. We had, I think I said last time I was here, I don't know if we'd have 5 or 50 people come. We had about 25. So I was happy with that. We had a member of council come in addition to our normal representatives. We had the city administrator, the police chief also came. So it was good, and there were good questions that came out and comments. Dr. Karpiak gave his report. He had a slide presentation with regard to the traffic stop report. And as I have reported before, you've probably seen, if you've seen a copy of the report, the greatest disparity had to do with males of color, and also had to do with stops for equipment violation. Now, we also had our esteemed Councilwoman Harrison, who spoke about the driving disparity ordinance. And it's going to be interesting, I think. We're going to keep track of the traffic stops. This wasn't a one-time thing. We're going to hopefully ask Dr. Karpiak to continue as we get the reports in of the traffic stops in the city. And I think it'll be real interesting to see if the new ordinance has an effect on the discrimination that we saw with the traffic stops. So that's what's going on with that. I don't know exactly how to bring this up because money is always an issue. But we had a comment that came in Wednesday night that I've heard over and over. The communities want community policing. And what that sort of means is they like to have police officers that they know, that they can trust, that are in their communities, that know the residents there. It's my understanding the last time that we had that kind of program, there was money, there was funding from someplace else. And I had a couple of the attendees on Wednesday come up and give some suggestions as to how we might fund that kind of community policing. I understand from Councilperson Song that there may be some money that the state is looking at, but just to let you know, we're looking at ways that maybe we can fund community policing as we have had in the past. It was interesting, our police chief, who's on her interim chief, who's on her way to another position, one of the commissioners indicated he remembered when she first started some 25 years ago, and she was in that neighborhood walking around, and she knew the residents, and the residents knew her. And so I don't know where it's going to come from, but it would certainly be nice for us to come up with some more funding, and not funding that's limited to a few years, but some ongoing funding. And I think we have one proposed commissioner that's coming before you for a vote this evening, and we certainly hope and that will be a good addition to ICPOC. And then we will basically have a full count. We'll have all 10 commissioners, and we are dividing into our committees to do our work, to be reporting back. So we still are in need of a student for that one-year term. If anyone knows someone, we'd certainly like to fill that position. So if there are no questions, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. We now come to public comment reserve time. Public comment reserve time is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of municipal interest. To speak at public comment reserve time, one needs to have signed up in advance by contacting our city clerk. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk, or the clock in front of you, will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Our first speaker today is Ed Vilmetti.
Hi, my name is Ed Vilmetti. I'm here to speak on 2 items on the consent agenda, CA7 and CA15, both of which will serve to close sidewalk gaps in the city. I'm very happy to see these on the agenda. They've been a long time coming. The sidewalk along South Main near Pioneer High School, adjacent to Ann Arbor Golf and Outing, is very long overdue. There was a struggle to get the walk on the other side of AAGO, but they were eventually happy to do that, and I hope that there won't be any pushback from members of that club. Anything to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety near the high school is very welcomed. My son commuted to high school on a bicycle, and that corner has always been a difficult corner. It'll be, there's already a goat path along that stretch, even though it's really a difficult stretch. The same goes for the sidewalk on Stone School between Packard and Eisenhower. Again, I'm expecting some pushback from the township residents there. I am still surprised that after all these years, there are islands of the township inside city limits, but I guess that's another problem. And then I want to bring up another sidewalk issue of note that's been on the city's radar at least since 2014. Sometimes these things take a long time. This is 3rd Street at Krause, where there is a section of city sidewalk right near downtown that has stairs on it. And there's a very helpful sign with a picture of a wheelchair falling down the stairs. And I think the city can do better. The problem with this one is that it's too big of a project to happen without a line item on the city capital improvement plan, and too small a project to have heretofore warranted a line item on the city capital improvement plan, and therefore in the absence of agitation, it's just never going to happen because it'll always be too small to just do it and not funded to do it if it costs too much. C-Click Fix, A2Fix-It has an issue first reported in 2014, as I said, and the subject of a newspaper article in 2017 where the city acknowledged that it was a problem but said it was going to be expensive. And in the 2020s, I think we can do better than what we did in the 20-teens. Thanks for your time, and good luck fixing the sidewalks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sarah Lorenz.
Hello, I'm Sarah Lorenz,
And I'm Clarissa Lorenz.
and this is my daughter. I brought her with me to show her how accessible our city council is, and hopefully you'll be up here one day, maybe. I want to thank you for serving on the city council. I know that your constituents are a very opinionated bunch, so we are here to give our opinion today. I'm a longtime resident of Ann Arbor, and I have been mulling over the problems of housing access and affordability for more than a decade. Helping with my family's small general contracting company drew me into the realm of housing, where I saw so many opportunities as well as catastrophes, victims, and beneficiaries of Ann Arbor's housing market. Because of this, in 2019, I helped found a nonprofit called the Equitable Ann Arbor Land Trust. I was convinced that nonprofit action was needed. Over the past 4 years, my research and work on the housing market have led me to believe that one important method of addressing our housing crisis is the establishment of a community land trust. Over the last 54 years in the United States, several hundred CLTs have been formed. Through ground leases and deed restrictions, CLTs create and protect housing, affordable retail, natural areas, farms, and civic spaces. Most importantly, a CLT can make housing permanently affordable and attainable to middle and lower income workers. Permanent as in forever, which is what I think we need. This housing can be rented, but also sold, so that workers crucial to our city's functioning and civic life, like our police officers, can put down deep roots here. We are in danger of total gentrification in the near future, but there are still many, many opportunities to change this trajectory. Every month, I see an opportunity lost for new or rescued housing for middle and lower income residents. I'm inviting everyone on City Council and the Ann Arbor community at large to make a bold plan for housing for Ann Arbor's third century, for my kids, for grandkids, for great-grandkids. I'd like to thank Ryan Stanton for his article last week that profiled our community land trust proposal that could be part of this bold plan. We have just been setting up a new community land trust website that I'm hoping to have launched this week. It's very basic, but we want to have a place where people can get some information and get on a list, because we are hoping to build a list of supporters as well as a waiting list for housing that we're hoping to be producing soon. We'll be having 2 meetings on the next 2 Fridays at the Ann Arbor Library if you would like to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Thomas Weider.
When I spoke to you 2 weeks ago to oppose the proposed statue of Kathy Kozachenko, a subsequent speaker on another topic began by saying, in clear reference to me, "Don't listen to old men. They're mostly racist and backward." She was followed by her companion, who began his remarks by saying, "First, I want to address myself to the asshole who's fighting so hard to stop the statue of Kathy Kozachenko." He then turned and faced me and shouted, "Asshole." These 2 individuals have a long history of appearing before council, shouting epithets such as fascist, racist, and Nazi. Council Rule 7 says this about public commentary: disorderly conduct at meetings. The chair, that is the mayor, may call to order any attendee who engages in personal attacks. Failure to come to order may result in the microphone being shut off, the forfeiture of any remaining speaking time, or at the request of the chair, expulsion from the meeting. Mayor Taylor sat there in stony silence. As a lawyer, Mayor Taylor must know the legal maxim that silence connotes consent. I don't believe it is an appropriate use of communications from council to attack individuals who address it, individuals who have no opportunity to respond. 3 council members argued that I am insensitive or hostile to the rights of LGBT individuals. This is based on the slender fact that I dared to question the totally unprecedented action of the city in erecting a statue of an individual. If a council member is attacked in this way by another council member, the attacked member can assert a right of personal privilege and receive 2 minutes of speaking time to respond. Perhaps private individuals should be given the same right. The city invites public input on many topics through online surveys. Every site plan, every zoning change is subject to 1 or more public hearings. Absolutely no public input was sought on this unique and possibly controversial matter, although that still could be done. There is not one single right way to support LGBT individuals. I literally put my money where my words and my values are. I have been fortunate enough to be able to donate thousands of dollars to the ACLU, one of the foremost defenders of the rights of LGBT individuals. What has each of you done? After the meeting, I saw Councilwoman Iyer downstairs. She informed me that the only time that she'd agreed with the two citizens who attacked me was, quote, when they called you an asshole. I was also approached by a man and a woman, possibly in their 60s. They said that they wanted to apologize for how I was treated. They also said that this was the first council meeting that they had ever attended and that it would be the last. It is so horribly sad and frightening that some of the groupthink, the intolerance of other views, and the incivility that affect our national politics has found a home in Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kathy Griswold.
Good evening. Thanks for having me again. I'm here to talk about the King School Crosswalk. Now, the King School Crosswalk still looks the same, and I'll be here again next time until it is changed, and it simply comes up to our crosswalk design standards, crosswalk design guideline standards. Thousands of dollars were spent on those guidelines, but we ignore them. Now, staff was generous enough to talk to me at the Green Fair, and I appreciated that, but it became clear that they had incomplete and incorrect information. So I gave them some additional information, but I thought, well, let me just FOIA King School Crosswalk in Griswold so that I have all the facts and then I can approach staff again. Well, I got my FOIA estimate back, $825. How can we be talking about the King School Crosswalk in Griswold to the tune of $825? Just fix the crosswalk and bring it up to current standards. I don't understand this. And people tell me, Kathy, you need to just back off. They are just playing political games with you. The mayor just is not going to fix that crosswalk because he doesn't like you. And I respond, no, nobody would put the safety of our students at risk simply because they don't like me. A lot of people don't like me, but that doesn't mean that you don't bring the crosswalk up to the standards. So I'm just totally dumbfounded why we can't simply improve the crosswalk. And it looks like staff did put one sign up, a non-crosswalk sign at one of the crosswalks. So I don't know what that's about, but these crosswalks have existed for 50 years. My 40-year-old son went to King School. I am intimately familiar with the public walkways. I have one right next to my property. So I don't know what the problem is, but there is a serious problem and the city seems to be broken and it needs to be fixed. Now, for some good news, we know that we cannot build middle-income housing in this city for less than or equal to market rate. So we need some help, and we shouldn't be using tax dollars such as the millage. But we do have the Community Land Trust, and I applaud Sarah for talking about that. I'm listed as one of the supporters. I want to be a financial supporter. I talked to my two children. They thought it was an excellent idea. And it's not a donation. There will be a return on the investment. It's not speculative. It's still a sound return. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kirk Westfall.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to ask you again to please put a 3-month moratorium on development petitions in the areas of Plymouth and Washtenaw that are slated for TC1 zoning. Moratoria are commonly accepted and legally defensible tools for municipalities that are actively replanning specific areas. We all acknowledge that TC1 was a long time coming, and now that it's partway done, with just 2 corridors to go, we're seeing an increasing stream of proposals coming to these corridors under the wire. Many of us thought that the tragic 1-story credit union bank proposal, Ward 2, would be the signal that council needed to stop further damage. But despite a specific direction to staff to expedite TC1, we are still months away from getting these rezonings done. Now we have a suburban hotel, a Chick-fil-A on Washtenaw, Ward 3, and Plan Commission is voting on a Taco Bell proposal on Plymouth tomorrow night, Ward 1. Why haven't you acted? We're not just losing housing opportunities on these sites, potentially already in the range of thousands of beds, but these suburban developments will prevent land assemblies that could have led to thousands more units if developed with TC1 zoning. These parcels are now going to be auto-dominated for the rest of our lives. Allowing definitively bad development to happen isn't a victimless action. Even though you likely won't see people lining up here to speak who are actively being priced out of the community and out of opportunity, we know that it's happening. So I ask that you please be bold and use your power to stop this abuse of our land, our limited amount of land on transit corridors, and bring a moratorium to the next meeting that stops all the projects that haven't gotten construction permits yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there communications today from council? Councilmember Song.
Applications are open on giga2.org. That's the guaranteed income program that the U of M Poverty Solution Center is hosting and administering. A reminder that to qualify, you have to live in Ann Arbor, have an income at or below 225% of the federal poverty line. So if you currently receive or are eligible for any public assistance like SNAP, TANF, Section 8, Pell Grant, you qualify. If you're an entrepreneur, so owner of a small business, informal, gig worker, independent contractor, you also qualify. Again, this is really meant to help folks impacted by the pandemic recover, but also try to see if we can measure out the impact on these small monthly grants of $528 per month for 2 years for 100 individuals or families and measure economic stability and health outcomes. It is not a small business loan. It is not meant to shore up profits. It's not profit-driven. It's not profit focused. So I'm really looking forward to the results, and I hope we can all encourage folks to apply.
Councilmember Dish.
Thank you. So as we know, the city is entering its comprehensive plan process. And if you are interested in signing up to receive information about that process, or if you're interested in applying to be on the steering committee, you can type in Comprehensive Plan Ann Arbor and then choose Comprehensive Plan from the drop-down on the left. You can apply for the steering committee up till October 16th. We just extended that deadline. I want to thank staff for the very comprehensive analysis of the city's response to our 3 major storm events in February, June, July, and this year. The total price tag for the response and cleanup, or well, yeah, pretty much the total, spent by the city was close to $2 million, which is amazing. And I am both grateful that we had those resources and marshaled them quickly, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to find ways to get that number down a little bit. And looking forward to having discussions about actions we might take to increase our preparedness. Councilmember Harrison and I had excellent turnout at our listening session last Monday at the downtown library in the multipurpose room. We will have another one Tuesday, October 24th from 6:30 to 7:30. That will also be in the downtown library multipurpose room. All are welcome, and we also welcome suggestions as to where else we might meet in our ward. Thank you.
Further communication from council. I'm sorry, Councilmember Iyer.
Thank you. Just very quickly, I'm going to be holding a listening session on October 8th, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. at York Food and Drink. That's at 1928 Packard, and I invite Fourth Ward constituents or anyone else who's interested in talking about city issues to come out and let me know what's on your mind. Thanks.
Further communication from council. Councilmember Ackman.
Thanks. I think this is what Councilmember Dish was referring to, but I wanted to draw people's attention to the response to analyze Ann Arbor's emergency response during severe weather events and related widespread power outages was attached to our agenda this evening. It was just posted this afternoon, so I haven't had a chance to really take a deep read of it yet, but I wanted to thank staff for their work on pulling this together because I think it's really important information for us to have in making decisions and budget going forward so that we can be ready and responsive. Thank you.
Councilmember Harrison.
Just wanted to let the community know that applications are open for the Rising Hope Assistance Program. This is a program that actually is for Washtenaw County residents who have a housing choice voucher and or are receiving one soon and are justice impacted. The Rising Hope housing program is a pilot program, and it will run through the end of June 2024. Besides being a Washtenaw County resident and already having a housing choice voucher or soon to receive one, you must be impacted by the justice system. And some of the services include trauma-informed case management, peer support, mentorship, move-in assistance, security deposit, rental arrears, and utility shutoffs. The program, the services are provided by A Brighter Way, Catholic Social Services, Offender Success, Shelter Association of Washtenaw County, and the SOS Community Services. For more information, please contact the Washtenaw Housing Alliance. Thank you.
Further communication from council. If I understand correctly, we have before us the resolution to appoint Jess Francis to the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission, moved by Council Member. Oh, was that? Oh, sorry. I'm just so excited about having that done. I stepped in advance, so that's going to be up for vote at our next meeting. My apologies all. For my part, I'd like to recommend the following nominations for your consideration: to the Historic District Commission, Chip Smith and Steve Kaplan; to the Housing and Human Services Advisory Board, Faith Redwine-Ottino; to the Downtown Development Authority, Angela Jackson; to the Council on Disability Issues, Elena Chambers; and to the Council on Disability Issues and Airport Advisory Commission, Robert Packard; to the Council on Disability Issues, and Alexander Arts to the Airport Advisory Committee. Further, I just want to mention very briefly, folks, I'm sure others at the council table, and I believe others at the council table, and I have heard from a fair number of residents with respect to MDOT's proposed fencing on the railroad and clear cutting. Not a single person that I've encountered in the city has expressed anything positive to say about that. And I suspect that a resolution will be brought forward for our consideration at our next meeting to more formalize that expression and communicate it to our good friends at MDOT. Further discussion? Oh, rather, no further discussion. That's just me discussing. I have no further discussion. We have before us the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin. Discussion of the consent agenda. All in favor? Opposed? The consent agenda is approved with 11 council members present, all voting in the affirmative, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement with respect to CA3, CA4, CA14, CA15, and CA17. And CA19. There are no public hearings today. We have before us the regular session meeting minutes of December 18, 2023, moved by Councilmember Watson, seconded by Councilmember Redina. Discussion, please, of the minutes. All in favor? Opposed? They are approved. DC1, resolution to encourage DTE to develop a process of burying power lines, investing in energy infrastructure, and improving grid reliability and resilience. Moved by Councilmember Redina, seconded by Councilmember Dish. Discussion, please, of DC1. Councilmember Redina.
Thank you, Mayor, and I will first apologize to my colleagues for once again forcing us to discuss DTE tonight. But at last week's work session, we heard just how important energy reliability and resilience are to our constituents. Unfortunately, we know from far too many recent experiences that the current DTE-owned energy infrastructure is falling far short of delivering on those priorities for our community. This resolution is fairly straightforward. At a recent Energy Commission meeting, we heard from a representative of DTE who, in an apparent reversal from previous conversations we've had with them, suggested that DTE is suddenly interested in burying power lines in high-impact areas throughout the city, particularly when the city already has planned road or public service projects happening in the area. By collaborating with the city to dig once, if you will, we could make it easier and more cost-effective to underground our energy infrastructure and improve both the reliability and resilience of our local energy grid, particularly during severe weather events, which are becoming more frequent with climate change, partially as a result of DTE's own reliance on coal and fossil gas. I do want to be clear that we know that undergrounding transmission lines is not a magic solution to all of our energy challenges, nor will it likely be possible to bury lines in every single area that we have overlapping city projects. However, this is one of many tactics that need to be fully explored and implemented wherever feasible to strengthen our entire regional energy grid. Finally, it's absolutely true that undergrounding energy infrastructure can be costly, but after years of deferring maintenance and underinvesting in their infrastructure, it is likely that every solution to improve this DTE's grid is going to cost more than was necessary to get us caught up. Ultimately, the data seem to suggest that in the long term, undergrounding energy infrastructure pays for itself and considerably improves outcomes for customers. And even if we accept DTE at their suggestion that it could cost up to $1 million per mile to underground transmission lines with $1 billion in annual corporate profit, that is up to 1,000 miles of missed opportunity each and every year, while passing the costs on to our cities, our residents, their families, small businesses, and nonprofits, all who are shouldering the burden of DTE's consistent grid failures. For all of those reasons, I am encouraging you to support this resolution tonight, which would direct our administrator to work with DTE to develop a plan to improve grid reliability and resilience. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilmember Briggs.
Thank you. And I don't have too much to add except for to, again, point readers and listeners to the report that we have attached to our agenda tonight, outlining what the cost to our community has been this year from these power failures and the unreliable grid that we have. We can see that it's close to $2 million that we faced this year. And beyond that, DTE's sort of ongoing it appears to be surprised that there might be emergencies that are happening throughout the year. The fact that we don't, it's outlined in this report that it's not clear that they actually have an emergency management process, that they're not communicating to the city, that we can't communicate with them, that our fire department can't communicate with them. There are really too many points here, but they should definitely be, the community should read through this and understand how much DTE is shouldering and displacing the cost on communities like ours.
Further discussion? Councilmember Cornell.
I will be probably more brief than my colleague. This has been an issue that has affected in many ways outside of the report that Councilmember Briggs referenced. It has been a significant problem in Ward 5 with reliability issues. We've heard a lot from constituents who, while I've sat at this table before and talked about how to contact the Michigan Public Services Commission and how to respond to their surveys and to be part of their steering committee, that feels like a further undue burden unto them. So I'm really pleased to see that this body take some action around those. And I think one point of clarification around the report is that this $2 million is around 3 events that have happened in the first half of this year. That was stunning to me, and I think that recognizing that and the fact that as we see the effects of climate change accelerate around the globe, and we can't take for granted that won't also continue to accelerate here in our community. And if we only have 6 months of data costing us $2 million, what's it going to look like in 2 years? Thank you.
Councilor Dish.
I would like to be added to this resolution. Thank you.
Councilmember Harrison.
I would also like to be added to this resolution. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilmember Watson.
I too would like, sorry, I too would like to be added, and I do also want to say that, DTE email, I did a quick search of the emails mentioning DTE in my inbox, and it's truly overflowing. It's the largest thing that I've been contacted about in my time on council, and it's also the one thing that I've gotten a lot of phone calls about. So I know that people are feeling this. I've heard some, frankly, heart-churning stories about people trying to scramble to get hotel rooms, after estimates prove false, and one email seriously ended, "It's getting cold and dark," but I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. I can't say it enough. Thanks.
Further discussion? This resolution obviously addresses a point of profound and pervasive concern throughout our community, the unreliability of and inadequacy of DT's infrastructure has been a topic at the table for some time now, and I suspect will continue to be. I would like to say just super briefly that a little bit last week, a number of representatives from the Michigan Public Service Commission did come to the city of Ann Arbor and met staff and residents and community members all throughout the city, and we were able to very clearly describe to them some of the challenges that we face with respect to the infrastructure inadequacies of DTE, their service interruptions, resilience and reliability challenges, and the inadequacy of their emergency operations and the extent to which it integrates and communicates with people in the city of Ann Arbor, and I have every belief elsewhere as we work to operate through all too frequent outages. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Do we have a closed session today?
We do not. Thank you.
May I have a motion, please, to approve the clerk's report of communications, petitions, and referrals? Moved by Councilmember Dish, second by Councilmember Watson. Discussion of the clerk's report. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Ms. Cord, do we have any communications from our city attorney?
No, thank you.
Someday. In the absence of public comment overflow, may I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councilmember Song, seconded by Councilmember Dish. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.